Vote for Greg. Your last chance. Vote for Greg.
Man,
please vote for Greg.
I'm gonna hope to get Greg on, and you guys can have a moment here on the show. Because who better to ask him questions? Than you?
I can't have him on. I can't.
Who better to ask him questions than you?
Shoot. I got somebody better.
Ooh.
I got some real Palestinians.
Ooh.
Real Palestinians that can't go home.
And why is Kafa bringing, of all the people in the world, Dr. Umar Johnson?
I knew you would hate that.
This ain't 2015.
When I seen that, I'm like, oh, the firefighters, though. The firefighters said,
I'm like, cool. They is lost in the sauce.
Hey, I told Nathan we need to make that a hot mic outing. We need to come live from the Dr. Umar speech at the Cincinnati firefighters event. I think that would be a dope.
I would call the scene. I think
that would be a dope hot mic special episode.
We need some.
I would call the scene for sure.
Brother Nathan, who are your favorite like Black thought leaders?
Black thought leaders?
Yeah, I would say like a Ta-Nehisi Coates or Dr. Umar. Yeah. 2 different levels, but Black thought. Who is your favorite Black thought leader?
2 different universes. They ain't on the same level. I mean, Ta-Nehisi Coates is a multi-times published author. And Dr. Umar don't do nothing but talk ish.
All I did was give you an example. Can you give me your favorite Black thought leaders? It could be Jay-Z, could be Kanye West, it could be Lil Wayne.
I think a lot of my dead or alive, because a lot of my favorites are dead.
Yeah, dead or alive. Dead or alive. Name some dead ones.
Well, number 1, Killmonger.
So, what was the white man name who wrote that?
Stan Lee.
Stan
Lee.
See, if you like the Killmonger from the Black Panther movie, then I think you got to give my man, what's his name, brother who directed it.
Yeah, Fruitville and all of that. Yeah.
Oh, why can't I think of his name?
Because Michael B. Jordan is the actor.
Right.
Ryan, was his name Ryan? No.
Coogler.
Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler, yeah.
Oh, he's talented. Very talented man. Love to meet him. Love to interview him. Black thought leader, I don't know. I don't know how to think about that.
I have some programming because we don't really know who the Black thought leaders are. We don't think about it in that context, so we don't have any unity of what we're supposed to do next, because we really haven't even studied the Black thought leaders of the past or the present.
Oh, it depends on who you're asking.
I just asked you.
And I told you, I mean, that's a deep question, because off the top of my head, I immediately start looking at my bookshelf and thinking about all the different authors that I respected that produce thoughts on paper. And then I thought, to be honest with you, most of the cats that I think are relevant have already passed over to the next life.
No, I don't mind that. You can name one. You could just name anybody right now. Just throw a name out.
I tell you, brother.
You said Killmonger.
You're asking me who I've thought was Black thought leaders who I have personally studied. I mean, that's a long list.
Is Phil Heimlich on that list? Quick question.
Phil Heimlich is number 7 on that list.
He said thought leaders. Thought leaders.
Thought leader, right.
Sorry, I got confused. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
It's the same question for you, brother Phil. Who are like some thought leaders that you would like? You could be like, oh yeah.
Can I answer? I want to answer.
I didn't know you were going to.
Absolutely, I'm going to answer. Yeah, you asked the question, but try my best to answer.
He moved on to more important people, but that's okay. Go ahead, Nathan.
I would say somebody that's been influential to me on a lot of different levels, and I would look at as a Black thought leader would be Gil Scott-Heron. Like, he's somebody who I studied and who impacted my own work. But there's a long list. James Baldwin. In terms of, you talking about just Black people, because it's not just Black people, but if you look at just Black people, I mean, it's a long list, man.
No, not just black people, but black people who like black thought to where we trying to get, because we still in a system of oppression, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, so black thought
system
leader,
of oppression.
like a Umar.
What you talking about, man? Our racism is over with. What are you talking about?
No, system of oppression is system of oppression.
Racism is over? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I thought that's why you said we didn't need. Hold on, Phil. That's the reason why you said you were against DEI. We didn't need it anymore.
Well, I mean, I just didn't know it was over. That's all. But I respect your opinion. Look.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to argue.
Hey, Deanna, how you doing?
Now we in reparations. When racism's over, now we in reparations. That's the next Arby's move to. Ready for that?
You're gonna get yourself arrested. Talking about reparations.
Right, so I'll be through later for reparations. It could just be dinner or something, but I'll be through.
Checks in the mail.
You know we've made it when Phil says he's in favor of reparations. When I hear that, I know we'll be in the end.
You'll know I'm on my deathbed. That's when you'll know that.
Right.
On your deathbed? That's what that is. Damn, Phil.
That's why I said
you were a fair guy.
Let's be honest, guys. I don't have much time left. I'm on the back nine. I accept that. You know what I mean? So I'll just go out quietly. Don't worry about it.
Well, at least the J6ers will get there. Well,
I don't know. They don't put that on hold, Nathan.
I'm going to say, come on, man. They
Phil, don't you agree? Phil, don't you agree that Damon Lynch IV should endorse Greg Landsman over his challenger?
Absolutely. Because the fact is that Damon's endorsement actually would help turn out a lot of his people who follow him. And I don't mean this, but I would not want to have it. I'm not being critical of Damon. I wouldn't not want to have it on my conscience that a Trumper, got elected from that district.
A Trumper.
Yeah.
Don't laugh. No, that's serious business, Damon Lynch IV. That's serious business.
Trumper is serious business? The word Trumper?
No, the impact of your endorsement is serious business.
How do I do it, guys? Somebody write it for me. I'll do it.
I'll write it for you right now.
Yeah, write it up.
Hey, I endorse Greg Landsman. That's it.
And let me also.
I've been saying vote for Greg, but listen, you're really missing it. It's really vote for Vanessa Enoch. I need to go expand the rest of my
Is she the one who always runs against Warren Davidson?
Yeah.
But by the way, back to the Landsman thing. I mean this seriously. If you do endorse him, I think that gives you a much better opportunity to run in the future in the Democratic Party because people like kind of team players. They do.
Thank you, Phil. Exactly, Damon.
I already said right, guys. I can't say okay enough times.
You didn't hold on, Damon. You didn't need anybody to come up with that website. So what was it, Genocide Greg? You didn't need no help for that. So you don't need no help coming up with a way to endorse Greg Landsman. You are extremely capable, sir. Stop it.
I don't need help for things I'm passionate about. I do need help for things that you want me to do.
Nathan, just write the announcement for the guy.
I'm gonna chat GPT real quick and send it to you.
Because it seems like this is part of the initiation to be on Hot Mic anyway. So I bow.
We have a lot.
Hey, Damon, separate me from that, man.
Don't get me caught up with that. Nah.
We have qualifications well beyond that, Damon. This is a very selective group here. Don't kid yourself.
Kamikia writes, he absolutely should endorse Landsman. And just asks that he has seriously addressed many of the critiques from voters. There it is. I wouldn't tell you nothing wrong, bro.
And just asked that he seriously addressed many of the critiques from voters.
She writes, how can you not be passionate about a seat you tried to get?
Listen, there's a lot of people on the internet. And it's the same four making these comments. It's hard to respond to the same four people.
Damon, what part of town do you live in?
East Price Hill.
East Price Hill. I guarantee you help Landsman, and I mean really speak on his behalf. There's going to be some seat, whether it's a council seat or a state rep seat or something, and you'll be in a good position.
I will do all I can, but not for a seat or anything like that. I'm also the precinct executive in my and the ward captain in district or in Ward 21. So, and my ward was not represented in the previous cycles. So me and my precinct executives, we're gonna push the vote like we never pushed the vote before, and Landsman will be the recipient of those votes because the Republicans don't even give you anything to vote for anyway, right? So all of the polls that are like, oh, the Democrats are up, it's not because the Democrats are doing something amazing, it's because the Republicans are so dismal and terrible. So Landsman will get the votes, and it will take a monstrous something else crazy to happen for Landsman to lose this election to Eric Conroy.
That's not true. They just redistricted. They just redrew the state. I mean, the district to make it more favorable for Republicans. So that's not true at all. He could most certainly lose it.
Well, Republicans are disenfranchised with Republicans, unless you're Thomas Massey or unless you're Warren Davidson, who make votes that don't align and they're trying to pull some of their base back. The Republicans, you have to look at the numbers from the primary. They didn't come out.
Yeah, I think David's right on point there. And I think I said that right after the primary. If you look at, because I look at those Warren County votes, like that's where Conroy has to clean up if he has any hope of beating Landsman. He's really got to run up the numbers out in Warren County. And if you look at the primary result number, I think Greg got more votes in Warren County than Conroy did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I said that after the election. I said that's not a good sign for Conroy, especially when you're expecting more people to come out in a general, and it's expected to be a heavy enthusiasm Democratic race. I think that's why for the first time, Vanessa Enoch has a real chance to win. She's not.
Come on! You're kidding. Against
Phil, because they redrew the district similarly for her. If she was just,
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Yeah, she's got parts of Cincinnati now, Hamilton County now. So that changes the math for her considerably. I would agree with you. If it was just Butler County alone, like it has been the last few times, no, she's not gonna.
Do you think that's why Davidson just bucked Trump on a couple votes? He just did on the war. He voted.
I hope it's because he's a good person. I hope it's because he's a good person, right?
Yeah,
I hope it's because he knows these wars are terrible.
I was really thinking highly of him, and now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I don't think he bucked it because he necessarily is afraid of Vanessa Enoch. I think he did it because he's not afraid of Trump. I mean, he's already won his primary, so there's nothing Trump can do at this point between now and November to get at him. And if he thinks the race is going to run its normal course like it does with Vanessa, he can be a little bit more independent now and speak his mind. Because what's Trump going to do? You can't primary me now. So I think it's probably more of a fearlessness factor than he's afraid of her. But she does have a great opportunity. The challenge is I don't know that many people in this area know who she is, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm speculating that. I don't know that. She may be well known, but I'm guessing she's got a lot of work to do to maximize the opportunity that she has. And if she can do that, I think she can give Davidson a doggone good run for his money.
This area is so blue that those people that go vote are going to vote for her. Like they're not going to vote for the Republicans. So that definitely works in her favor. And the Republicans are so terrible. Even Warren Davidson, like people not just skipping over that, that everybody has a shot. I called her. I asked. So it's also the party. She needs the party to help her, and they only help you if you have money. They only help her right. The party doesn't help you, from what I understand. You help the party help you. Right.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a mistake if the Democrats don't help her, because that's a when you have and again, maybe they've run the numbers. Maybe it's not as gettable as you and I think, Damon.
Right.
But if it's gettable in any kind of way, and you got an opportunity to get a seat that's been an entrenched Republican seat for probably 30 years or so, I mean, you got to go for that.
Yeah. No, so Warren Davidson, he helped himself. His 2 votes against the war, admirable. Admirable. But other than that, and he has like $3,000 worth of AIPAC money on his books. So he's clean. He's just a Republican.
He's a former soldier too, isn't he? Didn't he serve?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Talking about
he served.
Hey guys, I'm gonna start the show. I'm gonna put you guys backstage.
Okay.
Alandis Powell is supposed to join us, scheduled to join us at 1:30. back. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to Hot Mic Cincy. Nate Ivy with you. And let me bring myself up off the screen here in a second. But let me introduce everybody. Phil Heimlich, how you doing, sir? Good to see you.
Just kind of my modest, humble self here, Nathan.
Modest, humble self, as per usual. And we got Damon Lynch IV with us. How you doing, Damon?
Peace and blessings to everybody. Happy Friday.
Good to hear you. And the voice of reason, Kevin Aldridge. How you doing, sir?
Happy Friday, everybody.
All right, good to see everybody. And Alandis Powell is scheduled to join us shortly. So let me say what's up to people in the chat room this afternoon. I appreciate you. Almost said morning. Deanna was first. She writes, hey, followed by Brenda. Good to see everybody. Deanna writes, didn't Damon vote for Trump?
Yeah.
Deanna, the T is supposed to be capitalized, just so you know, and the R is supposed to be lowercase. It's not a big deal. I'm just, pointing it out.
Yeah, Deanna, I voted for Trump in the 2016 Republican primary.
All right, Pat writes, good afternoon. Terrace writes, what's good, panel? Hey, what's up, Terrace? Let me see. Kamiki writes, people think politics is a game. I blame Trump. T. Mikey G writes, greetings, hot sauce, hot Mike. Finally, I can enjoy. And he says, the buzz has lost my attention. Okay, well, you know how it goes. It goes back and forth. Christian writes, same four. Wait a dang minute. I think they were talking about, you said that, Damon. You were like, it's the same four people criticizing you on Facebook. Yeah. Do you get a lot of hate messages?
No, I don't get any hate messages. I get the same four people. It'd be like Kamika and whoever else was the same three people saying the same stupid things. I keep answering, yes, I voted for Trump.
Okay. Is money reaching out to you? I mean, you ran against Greg Landsman, got 10,000 votes. Or is money, if you know what I mean, reaching out to you? Like, hey, I want to support you in future endeavors, that kind of thing?
No, everybody who supports me and loves me is poor. This economy is very bad. No money is reaching out to me. Half the campaign was anti-money.
Anti-money. All right. Everyone writes, good afternoon, Nathan and Hot Mic crew. Just a quick question. Would you ever take any AIPAC money, Damon Lynch IV?
No.
No. Okay. Want to get you on record with that. Okay. No. Tony writes,
we had to spend a lot of time. No, we had to spend a lot of time looking at our donations to make sure it wasn't AIPAC money. We had to be prepared to send back donations to make sure that somebody wasn't trying to gotcha.
Okay.
I don't think, given your campaigns, I don't think you have much to worry about there, Damon.
No, I didn't have much to worry about, but it took my time looking at the twos and fews.
All right. Would you ever run again, Damon Lynch IV?
Did they vote for me? If they voted for me, if they voted for me, we run it again. If they didn't vote for me and they trolling, I don't know yet. But no, I don't know. It's situational.
All right. Twin writes, where's scary Nathan Ivy at? So now I'm scary Nathan Ivy. Okay, cool. That's okay. What's up, bro? Good to see you. I'm right here. Scary as always. Denise writes, Vanessa Enoch. Okay. I like Vanessa Enoch. I think she'd be a great congressperson. I do. I think she represents the people well. Bonita writes, good afternoon, Nate, panelists and family. You mean the crew. Terrace writes, only 3K Heimlich bucks.
What does that mean?
That's lunch money right there. 3K for Phil. That's lunch money, man.
He's out here in the afternoon. We have lavish lunches. Yeah, sure.
I've been to Phil Heimlich's house once, and it took me about 60 seconds to get from the guard at the main entrance to his front door.
It's like you entering Jurassic Park, ain't it, Nathan?
It is.
Big door, like you coming in Jurassic Park.
No offense, guys. There's a good reason for that.
I said no offense, good reason. Hey, I bet Phil is great at parties. I bet Phil is great at parties, man.
I invited you guys to my annual March Madness Oyster Shooter party. You didn't come. This party this is true. I've been doing this party for 25 years. Okay, because people come over, we watch the games, but I make this drink. I'm telling you, called an oyster shooter, and people love this. They love it.
Okay, and I can bring the wifey, right?
I told you could bring your wife. Absolutely.
Wife, okay.
She's my fan club. Of course, you want to bring her.
She is.
Can I bring a couple of athletes from the transfer portal with me?
Hey, Alandis is with us. Hey, Alandis. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Good to see you. We're just getting started. So let's get into it. So first topic is the widow of Cincinnati.
Did you see what this guy just said here?
What?
He said, "Are you the only black friends Phil has?" Now, just 1 second. No, I got to say something about that. That is totally unfair.
Go ahead.
You guys are black acquaintances. Okay, that's totally wrong.
Oh man, I like that.
That's a good one. Right. We to my friends.
Like
That's too strong a word. Okay. I like that. Sierra writes, now Deanna got to fight Phil? Okay. Well, you're in fights already, Phil? Man. Shahira writes, good afternoon. Twins telling us what to do. He says, hurry up, get to the topics. It reminds me of get to the choppers. Get to the topics. Here we go. TDS again. I guess that's Trump derangement syndrome. Ah, man. These Trumpsters. My son asking for chips. Now, he waits until I get on the air to ask for the chips because he's more likely to say yes. He said, yeah, thank you, son. I raised you well. No, wait, not those chips. Let me see what those are. No.
Nathan, perhaps you might introduce your son to us.
You want to come on camera real quick and say hello? Camera's right there. Just say hello. It's what I live with. All right. Thank you. He a dog in that court, though. I'm telling you that right now.
Hey, that was a tender moment right there, Nathan. Thanks for sharing that with us and the audience.
2033, he coming. I'm telling you right now. Get ready. See. Terrence writes, he got 17,000 votes. Are you getting any Heimlich bucks? I want some Heimlich bucks.
Yeah.
Twin writes, Nate, goofy ass question. I'm sorry, man. I'll try to do better for you, bro. Deanna writes, my husband voted for you, Damon.
It's up.
Tanika writes, good afternoon, Hot Mic crew and everyone checking in from beautiful Orlando, Florida. Sierra writes, do you have to show ID? Well, I mean, the Ohio Republicans are passing this ID bill. They're going to try to enshrine it into the Ohio Constitution, and they've got the numbers to do so. So more than likely, but I always take my ID anyway. Don't you always? That's one thing about it. You already show ID when you go to vote.
I think she was talking about the Phil Heimlich's oyster shooter party.
Oh. Yeah, you do. You do. I had to show ID at the guard.
You done straight to Republicans. Like the Republicans said, Lord.
No, I got to make it.
I got to Phil's. I can't call it a code. It's more like a community. There was a gate and a guard. I was there like 20 minutes trying to get through. He was like, "You're not on the list. You're not on the list." I'm like, no. I'm trying to call Phil. It was a whole thing.
Yeah. As far as the oyster shooter party goes, I have to confess we have had some underage bartenders who I'm related to. I will admit that.
Okay. Well, it's at your house, so the law comes. It's all on you. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's all on you. I'm gonna say Phil Heimlich. In fact, whenever I get in trouble, I'm gonna use your name, Phil, just so you know. If I get pulled over, I'm gonna say, I know Phil Heimlich. I'm just dropping your name indiscriminately wherever I go these days. So
yeah.
Gets back to you is probably true as me. Oh man, I can't get this long. I know Phil Heimlich. Let's see. LaDonna writes, I like my grandkids waiting till they see you busy. Yeah, exactly, LaDonna. He waited till I was on the air and then asked me for some chips that 30 minutes ago I told him he couldn't have. That's kids. That's how they get you. He's not going to say no in front of everybody. See. Oh, Sierra writes, thanks for getting my joke. So let's get into it. First topic. The widow of a Cincinnati man is now announced plans for a lawsuit against the city. And we spent a lot of time talking about this. A very sad story. From the reports, looks like a man broke into the home, stabbed her husband to death in their own bedroom. And this has been highly publicized. Some people online are saying they feel like this is politically motivated because they're like, well, how is the city of Cincinnati responsible? But apparently what we found out in the last couple of days is that because of another incident, Cincinnati police actually came in contact with the man who killed her husband hours before that actually happened. And I think he got into it with somebody, gave a fake name, and they didn't know who he was, so they didn't detain him. And then later on in that evening, he committed the crime that took her husband. But what's your take on this? I mean, from your standpoint, does she have a strong case? As I said, people online are saying that they feel like this is politically motivated, like she's trying to make the city look bad. Is that fair in your opinion? What do you think about this?
I don't know if that's fair. When I first, until you just gave me that last little bit of information, that was my question: is on what grounds would she be suing the city? Because I think if you were going to lay blame anywhere, it would have been at the state level where they had already acknowledged that they had sort of lost track of this guy after he, cut his ankle monitor off and all of that. So it would seem like maybe there was more liability with the state than there was with the city. But I do think it's interesting, this notion of Cincinnati police coming in contact with this guy a couple of days before he killed her husband. That may have some legs on it. And it is one of those things that just kind of begs the question, that's a little bit frustrating about, the same thing I just keep going on and on about Cincinnati police and how they do their police procedures. So we just had this case where they shook down this brother out in front of the bank for his identification, right? When all he was doing was recording. Here you got a guy who's involved in an altercation that obviously was extreme enough that it required the police to be involved. And this guy can give a fake name without having to come up with any ID and apparently get away. Now, I don't know all the details. I'm just going off of what you just said there, Nathan. But it does raise it continues to raise the question about, how Cincinnati police go about following their procedures and doing their job. And it kind of seems, hit and miss. I mean, like if I'm her and I'm like, yeah, the police rolled up on this guy and he's involved in some kind of altercation or something, and he gives a fake name and that's it. Like that's how it rolls now. I can just drop a fake name on the cops and roll out. I mean, I don't know, man. It's I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but that may be enough to give her some wiggle room to to maybe get something out of this. I don't know.
Yeah, but he actually had a warrant and he had removed his own ankle bracelet and was stopped by the police and not detained. So he had a couple things going on, right? In addition to them just not. And I think the question is that when do they force you to do something? Because sometimes it's over force and we complain about it. And when is it under force and how do they make those decisions? And then, the fact that she's been able to actually get a lot of publicity, and I don't mean publicity in a negative way, just all the arguing and everything that she's been able to do and the light she shined on the situation is probably the other problem. But the last thing is that when he removed his ankle bracelet and the warrant was out there, I don't think they could show where there was activity, where they were even trying to find him. Is that making sense? So I think that's another piece. And then everyone gonna sue everyone these days.
Yeah, no. So this hopefully this like either there's already a precedent set where she's doing this off of, or she's trying to set a new precedent to where every murder or every crime is now the fault of the city or the state. Because there'll be a bunch of lawsuits that follow this one if this is allowed to go forth. Even with the simple cutting the ankle bracelets, I mean, every crime has its own intricacies in that manner. Like, he got stopped by the cops, he got pulled over for speeding 3 days ago, or however it goes. So the lawsuits are going to flow through. So I can't imagine this going too far. But also, since it's a somebody who looks like Phil versus somebody who looks like Nathan, it might go.
Oh, you mean somebody who's good looking versus? Oh,
that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
No, he meant somebody. Yeah. No, he meant somebody with hair as opposed to somebody who has no hair.
Oh, okay.
I
continue. I just getting some clarification.
There's this huge immunity that the government has here. So it's a lot they have to break through when they're suing for stuff like that. So it won't completely change the actual law. It'll really just be based on this matter. And was there some negligence that was a part of it, or lack of actually doing their job?
Yeah,
I do want to see it go through because I don't want the city to settle.
They likely. Yeah,
and they just took because that hurts.
See, I think that's the gambit. I really do. I think that's the gambit here. I think the gambit is you sue the city. It's a high enough profile incident, can carry enough negative press with it that they may just want to go ahead and just dispose of this rather than dragging it through the court process. I think this is really what it is. Like, I don't think she really wants this thing to get to the court or anything like that. And the city may not want that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they wind up, coming with some kind of settlement on this. I mean, I kind of look at this kind of similar to, some other cases where it may not be a huge payday, multi-millions of dollars, but, she might be able to get get a nice little sum through a settlement just to kind of make it go away.
How much was the lawsuit? That number there?
I don't think they has she filed it yet?
I don't think she's filed it yet.
Yeah.
I think that she said she's angry enough to file it. And that makes you think that someone might settle before. She knows what she's doing, just so you know. And she's riding it till the wheels fall off. And I'm not saying that it's any way is not okay. I mean, was okay. But yeah, she's getting some great advice, if you ask me. Phil, you tell me, is this what happens, like when you get really sound advice?
You're talking about sound advice, meaning from her attorney? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because she's been willing to. She's been able to pass something in his name already, right? Mm-hmm. I think at the state level. Now we're talking about this and actually knowing to go to the newspapers first to say she might sue. Like all of that in combination. Most people wouldn't have the wherewithal or mindset to have done all this so quickly because this is just coming up on a year, maybe.
Well,
she's been able to do this.
First of all, I was not clear how much before the murder did this interaction that the guy had with the police?
It was the same day. It was the same day.
But it was earlier in the day?
Earlier in the day, yes.
I mean, it wasn't like right outside the guy's house. It was earlier in the day.
I think you're correct in the way you're putting it.
And what was it that the guy did that drew the attention of the police?
To my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, he got into an altercation with someone. I don't know the details of the nature of the altercation, but an altercation. And then he gave the police a false name. That's what I read.
Yeah, but whatever name he gave, they obviously didn't feel it was sufficient. It was whatever he did was sufficient enough to arrest him, right?
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think Kevin is right that if I recall when we talked about this before, the mistake was that he had taken off his ankle bracelet and they didn't do anything. And Landis, let's be honest that people sue the city a lot, and for the reasons that you guys have said, the city tends to settle these things. Keep in mind that for her to file this suit, there's some attorney. Does anybody know who's representing her? Anyway,
I do not. I thought Terrace said he had a connection with the person that was
in this situation. Well, first of all, some attorneys do it for the publicity, but other than that, the attorney this is always going to be on a contingency, and the attorney has to look at it and see, well, is it worth my effort and my time and all this, and probably expenses and all? Is it a good enough case that we're going to win? So, obviously, if she's suing, some attorney came to the conclusion that it was.
Well, here's what Fanon just wrote. He writes, federal case law does not support this theory of liability. Also, the lawsuit names the mayor and the city manager and accuses them of falsifying crime data to make people feel safer in the city. So
yeah, that's a yeah. I think she's gonna have a tough time. I think they're gonna have a tough time on that. I mean, you got to have some damning evidence to show falsification of police records. I mean, that strikes me as the kind of thing you hear on 700 WLW or in other spaces where that's a recurring narrative about what the city is doing as it relates to crime stats. But, it's one of those things that gets said without a shred of evidence to support it. And, good luck for her and her attorneys if they can actually find that and prove that.
They don't have to if they can keep us talking about it, because the city's gonna settle because Sherry Long and Aftab don't want the heat. If they're connected to the news, if you keep posting the op-eds and we keep talking, that's the whole game. Who matters? The court doesn't matter at that point.
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of what I've heard is completely on point and completely right, but I tend to lean to what Kevin is saying. It's like, and I've thought this from the beginning. I just do not believe that these men and women who themselves have families get up every single day. You talk about police officers and people in the city who are assigned to deal with crime in whatever capacity. I just don't believe they get up every day like we don't care about our jobs and we're gonna make up numbers. I just don't believe that they're not trying their best to be on top of it because that's their job and that's what they're dedicated to do. I just don't see that happening. This idea that somehow Aftab or Cheryl Long doesn't care about crime, I don't believe that. And I just don't believe it. And that sister is not in that job, not caring about the impact of her job. I just don't believe that one bit. I think that if anybody cares about crime in this city, it's two people at the top. Number one, the people that's been impacted by it. And number two, the people whose job it is to deal with it.
And she qualifies as both. So when you think about Cheryl, and first of all, people are holding them accountable to it constantly. And when people hold you accountable to stuff, you're really trying to do things. That's what people are going to do. Secondly, Cheryl's has had someone who was killed as a result of gun violence. And when she came into this job and before was focused on it. So I can't see her trying to do something that actually would drive gun violence or would just be something like what you're saying is just, I don't see that happening. I do see that we have crime going on and we need to do something, but to think someone is purposely shading numbers and just trying to allow it to happen, I don't see that piece.
Yeah, I think the narrative, what it is, and this is why I said falsifying is a strong term, right? Like that says like, hey, I'm intentionally changing numbers or hiding things or making sure that things aren't getting reported to make things appear safer. A narrative that I've heard that is not that some might say is more consistent with what a mayor or a city manager might do in terms of giving directives, and you've heard this before, is sort of this notion of telling police not to enforce sort of lower level type things, which a lot of people have said that by telling the police, hey, don't go after people for this, that, or the other, that is altering the crime statistics from what they would have normally done, because if police were going after these lower level things, it might result in more arrests that would skew the crime numbers. That's more of a narrative of what I've heard people accusing the mayor and the city manager of doing, more so than just flat out falsifying records and changing things. It's more or less telling the police, don't go after this, don't go after these sort of things, which affects the numbers. That's an entirely different accusation than falsification.
And Phil, is that the school of thought that you believe in? Like, if you go after the low-level crimes, it'll stop the medium and high-level crimes? Is that?
It's called the broken windows theory. It's called the broken windows theory. I've always been a believer in that. And whatever you want to say about Giuliani and how he's turned out to be off the wall, he was very, very successful at reducing crime in New York, and a lot of basis for that thing. Meaning, if you let people, kind of break windows or write graffiti and stuff, and you say, well, that's not that important, it leads to other crime. It creates a sense that it's kind of a lawless city. So I happen to believe in that.
I mean, it seems like there's an element of logic in that. Right? I can see that. But for me to really believe in that, I would need to see some real life data. Like, if you can show me some real life data where that's true.
What I'm saying is, if you look at the time when Giuliani was mayor, I mean, they had I think the guy before him was Dinkins, I think. I mean, he had incredible reduction in crime during his term, and also, who's the guy who followed him, the wealthy guy, who basically had the same philosophy about crime.
Bloomberg.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. They had incredibly great statistics about reducing crime.
But at what cost?
No, like, I was getting ready to say,
black and brown people getting.
Well, yeah, there was the stop and frisk, and I know you guys don't like that, but in my opinion, it was very successful.
Yeah, and you're right. So it was an impact to some of it, and it did lower
significantly lower.
It did lower some of the higher crimes. It also allowed for a lot of people who look like all of you black men to be incarcerated for little bitty things, and change the lives of their kids and their kids' kids. And
so they didn't arrest white people? Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't say that, because if I said that, it would be a lie. And I'm not going to try to talk through lies. I didn't say that. What I said is, when you look at the picture, the full picture, the impact on black people was great. And I'm not saying that it wasn't a good thing to stop these medium and major, especially murder, right? If it reduced murder, but at what cost? Because if you reduce one murder, but you impacted thousands of black men for generations, then you have to ask yourself the question, was it worth it? And I'm not saying a life for a life or anything. I'm just saying there's other questions you have to ask with the impact, whether it was intentional or unintentional, because most of the windows you're talking about, to use that as an example, was black folks. And it wasn't just a window it wasn't just windows they were.
I understand what you're saying. One of the windows, you're saying the black people are the ones who were breaking the windows? I don't understand.
No, everyone else understand what I'm saying?
Phil, basically, how do you think stop and frisk would go over in Indian Hill?
Stop and frisk?
Or on Wall Street.
Now, I'm just asking you, how do you, if you were walking down your Indian Hill street and some cops rolled up on you and you weren't doing anything wrong and they wanted to pat you down, have you empty your pockets, how do you think that would go over?
First of all,
and what might they find?
Teasing aside, I don't live in Indian Hill, even though he tries to spread that every week. But look, I support it across the board. I don't care if it's a white neighborhood, black neighborhood. I don't care where it is. I think it had a very.
I didn't ask you. Let me put it this way:
New York City.
I said, how do you think it would go over? How do you think it would go over?
How do I think it would? I don't know. Let's put it this way. Here's what
you think white folks minding their own business are going to be okay with being stopped and harassed by the police for no reason?
No. Here's the question.
And I guarantee you that if your constituency complained about it, it would change your support for it. This is the thing that Phil. Again, this is another education moment for you here.
Oh, thank you so much.
You support it now. You say, "Hey, I support it across the board, whether it's black, white, or whatever." You can say that because it's not happening in white communities.
Well, let me explain something.
Where those folks can complain. I guarantee
you're
much
missing
like
a point.
this lady, Sarah Herringer, because here's the reality. Is when white folks feel wrong and they complain about it, political attitudes change.
Well, the point when you ask about Indiana where I don't live, I mean, here's the thing. The issue is not do I like stop and frisk? The issue is does it reduce crime? Now, if you take an area, let's say that has almost no crime, okay, there's no reason for it. You do stop and frisk where the crimes are being committed.
Yeah, but Phil, the problem with that is I would concede to you.
And broken windows.
There are actions that the police could take that would drastically reduce crime.
Let me guess. Let me guess. Midnight basketball.
No, not midnight basketball. So for instance, and these are extreme examples.
Kevin's favorite, yeah.
If police officers had the ability to be judge, jury, and executioner on the spot, that would dramatically reduce crime. But what about the impact to the rest of society, though?
But nobody's saying that, Nathan. Nobody's saying that.
But not to that extreme, but we are saying that. What you're saying is you're okay with American citizens' constitutional rights being trampled upon.
No,
if it makes me feel a little bit safer about that's exactly what you're saying. Because that's exactly what you're saying, Phil, because you just said that you were in favor of stop and frisk in New York.
And there are thousands. It has to be based on probable cause. It has to be based on It has to be based on reasonable suspicion.
Yeah, but that's a slippery
slope.
That's a chalk line, though. That's a chalk line that can be removed on the spot by police and has happened many, many times. So what you're saying is you like stop and frisk because it didn't impact you. But for the black and brown people who had their days inconvenienced,
if I lived in New York City, I'd like it for sure for that reason because it would impact me.
You would like it up until you become a constant victim of it. If you were being stopped every other day, or if on some days you got a ticket or you got cited to court, you had to leave your job to go to court, it would become a hassle. You wouldn't like it. So there's a line there is what I'm saying. There's just a line, and we need to figure out what that line is between doing what we can as law enforcement to sort of intimidate people to not commit crimes, and also law enforcement committing crimes themselves against American citizens. And I think that line should err on the side of the people more so than law enforcement.
I'll agree with that. I agree with that point.
Okay,
hey, Phil, I'll say this.
I agree. No, I'm just saying that it's the same way I feel about privacy too. I always ultimately, even though I believe in it, I ultimately fear the government more. Even as bad as crime is in a lot of areas, I fear the government ultimately more than I do criminals. Okay, and there's a balance, but I think the greatest threat always is the government oppressing people. No question.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, we can agree on that. Yeah, for sure.
Sorry,
what were
Kevin,
you saying,
interrupt you.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say the other end of that. Phil says, "Well, you're not gonna search where there's not crime." Well, maybe there's not as much crime because the police aren't as aggressive in some places. I'm sure if before marijuana was legalized, if they had shook down soccer moms out in the suburbs, I'm sure they would have uncovered a lot of marijuana joints on a whole lot of suburban white folks, just like they were.
Let me speak up for the suburban white folks. I went to a lot of.
I'm just saying.
A lot of my kids' soccer games. I didn't see any mother smoking a joint. Okay,
that's because they were in the van. That's because they were in the van.
Big backyard.
I didn't see a lot of mothers out there.
They're not going to be in the stands smoking it. They're not going to be in the stands smoking it. They're in the van smoking it, or they're in their house, they're in their home smoking it. I guarantee you, if you cracked open some of them purses, you find a dime bag in a few of them. But you know what? They're not shaking down suburban soccer moms and checking their purses
because there isn't that much crime. There's not much crime.
Don't have a
That's
problem stopping young brothers on the street and having them empty their pockets.
Well, because they're not looking they're looking for crack, not cocaine.
Let's see here. Tara's right. Sarah's lawyer was in Hot Mic. If I'm wrong, if I'm ever wronged, I'm hiring Todd. Hey, Terrence, if you got a connection to her lawyer, let us know, man. He says Sarah's lawyer was in Hot Mic. If I'm ever wronged, I'm hiring Todd. So, I mean, Dr. Phelps' point, I mean, she found a lawyer who thought she had a case. I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I just don't understand how, if she can sue the city and get money, that means that any person that lives in Cincinnati that's a victim of crime can now sue the city and say the city didn't do enough, or else my loved one or whoever, wouldn't have been a victim of crime. And I just don't know if that's fair to the city. I don't think it is. But
that was my first thought. That
I mean, I'll say
the loss will be coming in for a lot of these, of no matter what it was, because sometimes they're sin offenders. Well, he was in jail before, whatever the excuse that they can make. So hopefully that they don't settle this and they get to a resolution that doesn't leave the city vulnerable to the 300 murders we have every year.
Or the other way is, it's about time that we started to blame the city, right? That's the other way of looking at it. Some people might look at it and say, yeah, the city is responsible, right? You're in charge of law enforcement. How is this possible to happen in a city where you're supposed to be in control? I don't know. We'll find out.
No, but see,
let's move on here.
Track the flock cameras.
The level of
the fast track to what now?
Flock cameras and stop and frisk. Fast track the AI surveillance and so we can't act like the crime is that bad.
That's where we're headed.
It is.
Well, I think we should be able to have conversation about crime without opening the door to losing freedoms because of drones and AI stuff. And just like you said, I think that those are two different conversations and we need to stop ourselves. But I'm just one person. I mean, Sarah, whatever her name is, she has every right to sue whoever she wants to sue. So I get it,
Yeah, but you got to approach any of these issues with some logic and nuance, and I think fairness. And so what I would say is every crime that happens in the city the police's fault? No. This is where I get to the point of, ultimately the people who commit crimes are the primary people who are responsible for those crimes. And I think what we like to do too often is try to look to somebody other than the person who is ultimately responsible for the blame. And we start to come up with all of these different what if scenarios to try to blame somebody else than the person who was ultimately responsible for it. Now, to me, I think there may be a degree of unfairness in this, but then I would need to see again, know a little bit more about this interaction that the police had with this guy a couple days before. And as I said, that may be a legitimate window of culpability that you might be able to reasonably make in a civil. And remember, this is a civil case, not a criminal case. Civil case has a different, responsibility for the preponderance of evidence required to get a favorable judgment. So, I mean, Fanon, again, he's weighed in. He has infinitely more knowledge than that. But I do think, even as somebody who has been critical of the police from time to time, I do think that you do have to have an air of fairness in terms of, and I feel for this lady. I mean, I think anybody who loses a loved one and who goes through that pain and that loss, particularly in a gruesome manner like that, you're looking for justice. You're looking for, somebody to pay for what happened. I mean, I think that's a human instinct. So I'm not going to blame her for that. But I think, in that we also got to be fair about, how much culpability do the police really have in this situation.
All right. With that, let's move on.
Not even the police.
Play this clip for you. Yeah, I'm gonna play this clip for you. This is from President Trump. He was asked a question about the unemployment rate, which is higher for African Americans than any other demographic. And here's what he had to say. I know it's very small. Let me see if I can make it larger so people can actually see what he has. And check this out.
Lost a car industry years ago. 54% of
on,
the industry went to Germany, Japan, Canada.
I'm going to restart it again. Check it out.
Has been steady at 4.3%. The black unemployment rate has been 7.3%. When you ran for While the unemployment rate has been steady at 4.3%, the black unemployment rate has been 7.3%. When you ran for president, you courted black voters and talked about what you described as black jobs. How do you describe why this disparity is happening? What can you do to close that?
Well, we're doing very well with the black jobs, African American jobs. I saw some numbers that are doing really well. But where we're really going to do well is when all these plants are open. We're building many car plants. We're bringing cars back from Germany. We're bringing, we lost the car industry years ago. 54% of the industry went to Germany, Japan, Canada, Mexico. It's all coming back. It's amazing. And where your black worker is really going to do well is when those factories open. So I think they're going to be great. We've been doing very well. It's been a big focus for me. Yeah, please.
While the unemployment rate has been steady at
So that was the president being asked a question about the black unemployment rate. My question is, did his response give you any confidence that he's going to come up with a way to deal with that? And then the other thing I've noticed is when Biden was in office, I heard this from black people. Black people used to say, "What did Biden do for black people?" I used to hear that over and over and over again. I don't hear anybody saying that about Trump. And the numbers support that. The conditions for black people have gotten worse. But my question is, does Trump's response give you confidence that he's on top of the job for black Americans?
So I'll jump in, double Dutch. Trump is an idiot. When Biden was in office, he didn't even do these press conferences. Trump's so slow that he'll do them, fall asleep in them, wake up, say something stupid, and just keep it going. but his words only mean what we let them mean, because he'll say, "Oh, I'm a bomb." No, he said, "Oh, I'm gonna give $1 billion slush fund," and we like, "Oh, he's gonna do it." And then when they asked the attorney general, like, "Well, are they doing that?" He said, "No, we're not doing that." These are just things that Trump says from the seat he's sitting in. Trump is on hot mic every day. Very little of what he says actually matters except to the stock market, which I'm still confused why that's getting moved by his words. But it definitely, black people can't be moved. What he thinks about black employment, it's not up to us. Now, Biden was supposed to be for us. So if they ask Biden that question, it's because he's supposed to be for us. We don't ask Trump because we don't expect him to be for us.
Huh?
Well, all I can say, Nathan, is I'm glad I got my black job. That's all I can say. I got my black job at the white newspaper with my black job.
See,
I'm not a part of that unemployment statistic.
I've never seen him respond like this. This is incredible.
I mean, look, man. You remember Trump famously asked black people, "Hey, what do you got to lose?" Jobs, apparently. Look,
Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, it gives you no confidence, because talking about what could be does nothing for people who are struggling right now. Despite what Donald Trump said in that clip about the auto industry, what we know is there are no. He presents it like new auto plants are being built in the United States. That's not what's happening. If you want to talk about the three car companies that talked about doing things as a result of bringing auto jobs back to the United States, they're expansions, and they're expansions that they're not even talking about doing for several years from now. So this is not like when he says, we're bringing all of the auto jobs back to the United. There ain't a single job that's back yet. There's the potential for expansion and jobs to come back. And if those things do come to fruition, it could be very good news for black folks. But that's a lot of ifs, not just for black folks, but for people in general. I think more manufacturing jobs here in the United States is good for all Americans, black, white, or whatever. But there's no evidence that manufacturing is coming back to the extent of which Donald Trump would have you believe. So we'll see in 2, 3, 5 years, however long these companies are talking about before they do these expansions and bring these jobs back. And we know a lot of things can happen between now and then. You know, I'm not holding my breath for it, but that does nothing to impact the unemployment numbers that he was asked about.
Anybody else? Did Trump's response inspire confidence in you?
Yeah, I'll just say, I mean, this guy makes stuff up as he goes along. I mean, I can almost guarantee whatever he said there, he literally just thought it up at the moment. I mean, it's not even, it's almost not even worth discussing. And I'll say Vanita in the chat made a point that she reminded us that the last time he got a bad report, remember, jobs report, what did he do? He fired the director of labor statistics. Okay, that tells you all you need to know.
All right. I played a clip of Landis of Donald Trump talking about black unemployment. He was asked a question in the Oval Office, and he said basically there's a, you know, he's focused on it, and there's a lot of new plants coming to the United States, and you know that's going to help black people. And so the question is, you know, do you feel like that Trump is? Do you have confidence that Trump is on top of the issue of black unemployment?
I'm sure you could answer that for me.
I probably could.
Yes. I don't even listen to what he says anymore. I think that he's a waste of energy. Until we figure out how to get him out of there, I feel like he's a waste. And I feel like talking to people who still support him is a waste of energy.
I don't know. I mean, you turned terrorists around though. You converted terrorists. Terrorist is on a whole new kick now because
she emasculated terrorists. I mean, let's be honest. Come on, the poor guy.
I did not do that.
I said, "Are you a man? Are you a?" I mean, but the poor guy. I almost felt sorry for him.
I never asked him if he was a man. Ever. I would never do that to a grown. Never.
Right, okay.
Ever. I said.
You know, I heard he's had like weeks of therapy ever since that show.
I don't think it was just me who caused him, but changing is important. Change is important, but if we keep talking about this liar and allowing his words to make us have these conversations, we are continuing to feed the beast. And if we keep coddling people who don't understand now that he's not good for any of us, then it's kind of like my dad used to say, never fight a drunk man because he doesn't know when to stop. So when do we just stop and say, what do we do to change this? And so how do we change things?
Landis, I got to say, those were powerful words. I'm impressed.
Oh,
seriously.
And I didn't cuss.
Well, whether you cussed or not, those were very wise words and strong words.
That's what I thought I said to open up the segment.
Phil never says that about me.
He wasn't here.
Never.
No. Wait a second, Nathan. If you say something wise, I'll say that about you.
That's like saying you don't say anything wise.
I didn't say that.
Phil and these backhanded compliments, man. He's good at it. He's good at it. Okay, so it looks like we've got some consistency on that. So basically, no confidence in Trump when he's talking about black people and jobs.
Just stop saying Trump.
Can I throw out something about Trump that has nothing to do with this, but I think it's a point worth discussing? I can't.
From the back.
No? Okay.
Next topic.
Let me show you a video. This is it's graduation season, and I love graduation season. Like I just so enjoy on social media, primarily Facebook, when I see people posting videos about their own graduations or family members. I just love it. I don't know what it is about it. I just get charged up. I just feel so privileged to be connected with people on social media so I can kind of peek inside their world and see some good stuff that's going on. So here's a graduation video for you. I'm going to play this for you. Let me see.
It's not what I think it is.
It very may well be. Okay, here it is. All right, just check this out. Young woman was giving the graduation speech, and typically I don't know. In my world, anyway, the person that gave that graduation speak was usually the valedictorian, the people that, you know, the person who, in terms of like their GPA was like #1 in the school, you know, like the smart person, for lack of a better term, to oversimplify. So this appears to be the valedictorian at this particular graduation, and she started giving her remarks, and I think she went off script, and this is what happened. Check it out. Hold on, let me restart it. Just dealing with this live stream stuff. Check this out.
This 17-year-old teenager from Clayton, North Carolina.
We're not given a voice to stay silent and
This 17-year-old teenager from Clayton, North Carolina says her welcome speech to graduates was cut off by a school administrator after she made these remarks.
I have one last thing to say. Every single person here has a voice, and we are privileged to have the freedom to use it when so many people around the world are struggling and suffering to be heard. Whether it's the millions suffering in Palestine, Sudan, Congo, Afghanistan, and so many other countries around the world, these are the families being torn apart by ICE. These are not distant issues. They are happening right now as I speak.
She came up to me and she's like, if you don't stop speaking right now, you're not graduating.
That's what Lean Hijaz says the administrator said to her in this moment when she cut off Hijaz's speech. And because of those remarks, unlike the rest of her fellow graduates who picked up their diplomas after the ceremony, Hijaz says she was told,
"You're getting your diploma withheld."
A Johnston County Public Schools spokesperson tells CNN that Hijaz was, quote, awarded her diploma and that her speech was cut off because, quote, school administrators intervened in order to maintain the integrity and focus of the program in real time. This action was not about limiting a student's voice, but about ensuring that a school-sponsored event remained consistent with its intended purpose. JCPS respects students' rights to express their views and encourages thoughtful dialogue in appropriate settings. The district also said the content of graduation speeches is approved by staff ahead of the event. Hijaz says she did not submit her unscripted remarks for approval and that she received her diploma 4 days after graduation. Hijaz says her family and friends have supported her throughout because
my sole purpose of saying everything was to advocate for people.
We're not given a voice.
So here's my question for you. Did the school do the right thing? I mean, on one hand, you know, the school will say, listen, it wasn't necessarily about what she said specifically, but we've got a policy about, you know, students in that moment talking politics about whatever it might be, and she crossed that line. Or did we just see a future leader, a young woman that's got all the qualities to be the leader of the next generation? And we just saw what happens too often is that people like that get their wings clipped because they step outside of the line, so to speak, and they challenge the system, they challenge the rules, and they lead with integrity. But what do you think? Did the schools do the right thing, wrong thing? How do you look at it?
It wasn't the school that you have to first ask the question about, because the school had to actually react to what Karen did. So Karen, who actually stopped the speech, is what started this, not the school. The school had to support Karen once she did it. And I know her name isn't Karen, but it's better than calling her what I want to call her. So I do think that that is the first question, is what gave that person the right to do that. Most people would have said, I'll talk to him later, right? Because she was almost done. And actually, it gave more to this matter because of how she did it. So there's the question. Should Karen have done it?
Yeah, I think two things can be true at the same time, Nathan. One, I think the school did do the right thing. And I do think that, you know, this young lady has the potential to be everything that you just said. And here's the reason why I say the school did the right thing. You probably feel like they didn't if you feel like you liked what the young lady said. But if the young lady got up there and she said something about DEI and woke culture, would you feel the same way about her having gotten stopped? This is not anything new. Just about every school has this policy in place. If you're a valedictorian or you're a speaker, you have to have your remarks approved ahead of time. And if you don't have your remarks approved and you go off script, they stop you. This generally happens probably once every graduation season, where a student does this at some school somewhere. The topics can vary, and they get shut down. So I would imagine that CPS probably has very similar policies, and a lot of school districts in this area probably have very similar policies in terms of trying to make sure that students don't get up there and say things that take away from the event itself, or try to use it as some sort of platform for them to make larger things. So here's
that isn't the but just hear me on this. First of all, the lady told you that her speech was never approved, period. So they didn't
No, she said the unscripted version.
it wasn't she never submitted. Let's go back.
The unscripted part.
Yeah, okay.
I
thought she said her entire speech. So
no,
she said let's go back. So the fact that that lady actually stopped and took the mic away like that when she was at the end, we can talk about the school, but the school could have actually had something to say after she finished, to say we did not condone this X, Y, and Z. Because I get your point. If she was saying something you didn't want to say and it was wrong, but the fact that the lady actually stood up and stopped her in the middle when that made what she said more powerful.
Sure.
Do you understand?
I don't argue with that, but that doesn't
I know,
change.
but you're asking, but then the question about the school, yes, the school had to have something to say, whether she finished the speech or not. But the fact she stood up and grabbed the mic like that, I just think that it was probably easier to let her go and to actually have something to say. Because she was
going to get criticized either way, Alandis. If they'd have let her finish, then the question would have been, why didn't the school stop her? Why did the school?
It wouldn't have been on hot mic though.
It would not have been.
Look, what that student did. Listen, I'm telling you right now, what that student did when she made the decision to make those comments, it became a news event, no matter what happened there afterwards. Because if she'd have been allowed to complete it, people who disagreed with what she said would have raised a stink on social media about it, and it would have become a news story. Believe me, I'm telling you, this happens twice every year. Y'all are living in this world like, well, if she hadn't interrupted her, it wouldn't have been a news story. Nope. It was going to be, once that student made the decision to make a political statement in her speech against the rules of the school, that became something that was going to become, it was inevitable that was going to become a news topic.
And normally when people cut it off, they cut off the mic. They like the whole aggressive piece of how she did it, I think made it even larger than life, if you ask me. But it does happen. I won't say it doesn't. I've seen it happen and know about it happening when people have something to say. However, it's the how about how you do things.
Let me ask a question, if I may. May I ask a question? She had gone off script and she said, I just want to thank all the wonderful teachers at this school. And by the way, God bless America. God bless our president. I don't think they would have cut her off, even though they didn't approve that in advance. And I think she is a future leader, and I don't think they should have stopped her. And here's the reason. If she had said something that I would consider offensive, like racist or even cruel or anti-immigrant, or something that is cruel, racist, cut her off. What really all she was doing was speaking up for, frankly, people who are oppressed and in poverty. And to me, there was no reason to cut her off. It was noble, and it wasn't, as I said, it wasn't done in a belittling or a mean or fashion. So I
so if she'd have said, "God bless President Trump," would you don't think that would have been? I don't think
that would have cut her off. I don't think.
No. I'm saying, but you don't think that would have been controversial?
Yeah, but they wouldn't have cut her off. That's not the. Would have been controversial. Would have said, yeah, they let them say that, but we wouldn't be talking about it. Not like this. And there wouldn't have been a Karen in the audience. There wouldn't have been a Karen going up there snatching a mic either. So what I'm saying is I'm not saying.
Ahead. I'm sorry, Landis.
I agree with Landis and Phil. I think they're both right. It was aggressive the way so we don't think about it that way, but that was aggressive. If I'm at a mic, you're gonna come over and just grab the mic from me. That's aggressive.
Yeah. And if she'd have pushed the shit up, I mean, if she would have done something else, it'd have been a problem.
Yeah, but she wasn't a grown up. She was.
But she is a grown up.
She's
probably 17, 18, about to be 18. She's a young adult. And what it shows you is how, in this case, I don't think it's everywhere in this country, at least I hope it's not, that we say we want one thing out of young people, but what we really want from young people is to shut up and do what we tell them to do. Unfortunately, these schools are not. See, if you are creating a critical thinker, they're going to challenge you in the classroom right then and there. And too many people don't want to be challenged by young people. We want you to shut up, take these notes, do what I told you to do, think the way I'm telling you to think, and I don't really frankly care about what you think. That's what I got from that. There would have been no harm whatsoever to let her finish. The school can put out a statement saying, hey, you know, our policy is we let them say what they got to say.
Other than it violates the rules. No harm other than it violates the rules, because Nathan, it becomes a slippery slope. And this is the point that I'm trying to make.
I want to hear it. What's the point?
Y'all don't want to seem to grasp here because y'all like what this young lady was saying. My point is that they have rules that every kid is aware of before you go into it, right? If you break that rule and they just say, oh, well, just let her go ahead and finish, then that opens up a floodgate, because you're going to have every kid from now until the cows come home doing this at every graduation.
Listen,
why even have the rule, Nathan, if it's not enforced?
You are like, I don't know.
Answer that question.
I know, but listen to this.
I'll answer, but I'm gonna let Landis go first.
The rules say you're not supposed to dance. You're not supposed to dance and party when you're getting your diploma. You're not supposed to do the DAP or whatever. How many kids have you seen them tackled because they're dancing when it's against the rules at graduation? Tell me. I'm away.
They didn't tackle this. They didn't tackle this young lady.
How many have you seen them even aggressively stop from dancing? You don't.
I don't.
You don't. Wait, because it's not worth stopping, but it's against the rule.
So how aggressive the Karen was. If you remember in the article, the young girl was in her car. She had the keffiyeh on her headrest. So the young girl been walking around with her keffiyeh all year long, pissing that teacher off. You hear me? The young girl been screaming, "No AIPAC, free Palestine" all year long. That teacher, I don't know how far away or how close she was, because she knew it was coming. So she went to stop it, because the young girl been screaming free Palestine in the halls all year long. And I don't know what kind of school this is. When I first watched it, I was like, okay, a white girl about to say free Rosa Parks or something. But then when they said her last name and then they showed the keffiyeh in the background, when you ask is she a leader, she's a leader because of the oppression. She's a leader because people in her family are probably dead in Gaza. People that she knows that are very close to her have died. She is not right. So she's become a leader by force because she has to stand up for all of these things. But we probably don't know the full backstory or how she been at that school her senior year, wearing her keffiyeh proudly, standing up for genocide every day. And they knew it was, they went and stopped her, right? But if they wouldn't have stopped her, she would have just did her thing. It would have went viral in their little community. It wouldn't be on CNN.
But that makes no sense, though, Damon. If they knew it was coming, why even let her up there in the first place?
Because she earned the right there.
If I know she's building up to this,
think about
why don't I just shut her down? Why don't I just shut her down?
Think about what she was doing. She was doing the welcome. She's probably the man when she did her thing, period. Like, it was her job to give the welcome, but it was that other lady's job to make sure she ain't say free Palestine and start a chant, right? So they both had a job to do.
Yeah, and remember my comments at the beginning of this. I'm not condemning the young lady or saying or challenging her for challenging the rules or doing whatever she said. But the reality is when you challenge rules and you break rules, there are consequences that come along with those rules. So she may very well have been the leader and said, hey, I'm going to buck this system. I'm going to stand up and do that. And just like when people in the civil rights movement stood up, sometimes you got the police dog sicked on you. Sometimes you got different consequences that come along that came along with that. But this young lady understood, as did a lot of the students there, that these are the parameters that you're in, and this is what is likely to happen if you do that. So there should have been no surprise on her part that they might cut the mic off, and maybe they didn't have the ability to do that. Who knows? We're all doing a lot of speculating around it. But to me, it's not a surprise that they would do that, because schools try to stay away from, and I think dancing when you get your diploma is very different than political speech when you're giving a speech.
How's it different?
You talked about
what do you mean?
but you can't make it about the rules. You can't have it.
What do you mean?
You
How
can't
It's
have it both
personal
ways.
expression, Kevin.
Yeah, you said there's the rules.
Okay.
There's the rules. Don't
if y'all think dancing when you get your diploma and making political statements in a speech
They are exactly
the same thing, then
They are the exact same thing.
And that's just, then we just ain't gonna
We
agree
are
on
not
that.
going to agree because, Kevin, it is personal expression.
Yeah.
Whether it's dancing or talking, I'm expressing myself.
Okay.
And if they're not,
Well, if I run up and punch you in the face, Nathan, if I run up and punch you in the face, that's personal expression.
No, that's called assault.
But that's
Kevin.
different than me
No,
saying
Kevin, that
something
would be
to you.
assault. That would be assault.
No,
That's
it's personal
illegal.
expression. No, it's personal
No,
expression.
that's illegal,
It's
Kevin.
personal expression.
You're trying to
It's
compare.
personal expression.
No,
It's hey,
you're trying
I'm
to
a rule
compare
breaker. I'm challenging
dancing
the rules.
with
I'm
assaulting
challenging the
somebody,
rules,
and there
Nathan.
is no comparison.
I'm challenging the rules.
No, you're
I'm
challenging.
challenging the rules.
No,
I'm standing
you're
up on that
challenging-
side.
you're
I don't think punching people in the jaw should be
Kevin.
illegal.
No, you're challenging the legitimacy of your comparison. There is no comparison between an illegal
You're
act.
right. There is none.
There is exactly.
none.
There is no comparison.
No, and what y'all are saying.
Let's let Phil decide. Phil, what do you think? Are you telling me that you think that you think somebody talking is the same as assault? Will you tell your friend, please, how wrong he is?
My friend or Kevin? Who
Your friend Kevin.
No, my point is freedom of expression.
I thought that was funny.
Freedom of expression. If I throw
You don't
blows,
believe
am I
that,
not
Kevin.
expressing myself? Is that not an expression?
No, that's called assault, Kevin. That's called assault.
No, it's okay.
That's called assault.
Okay.
And you don't get a chance to assault people, but you can dance and you can talk.
Okay.
You can dance and talk. As long as you ain't hurt nobody or assault nobody, that is not the same. Phil, will you weigh in here as the real bringer of logic and truth?
Wow. Oh.
As the real voice of reason?
How do I look? Wow.
You look bald.
Well, I hate to side with Kevin at any level on this, but I do think there's a difference between people kind of doing the big wave and the dance and saying something. However, as I
didn't go how you thought it was going to go, did it, Nathan?
Excuse me. As I said before, though, the issue was whether. Excuse me. Just listen. The issue was whether it was right for that woman to stop her from speaking. And the point that I made before is, if she had, that isn't the issue, that, she's off script, therefore it's breaking the rule. Because as I said, and I know, if she went off script and said, God bless America, God bless our president, thank you, you wonderful teachers, you think they would have stopped her and said, no, that's off script? No. So that's not the issue, whether it's off script. It's whether you are going to permit a kid to say something of that nature. And it wasn't ugly or racist or anything. She was, I think, as I said, speaking up for impoverished, oppressed people. And so I don't think there was any justification in stopping her.
So if they have rules in place, Phil, that says no political speech in the addresses when you get up there, that you don't think that's different than what you just described.
Was that the rule here?
Normally, that is most of the rule. That's the reason why they shut it down. They said that they don't allow you to have language that's not consistent with the
went off
event.
script. That's what we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Not
right.
No, what we were expressing was,
don't say we.
She did not include her comments in the script because she knew that it would not have gotten approved by the school.
Well, I mean,
So it's different than if, so it's different than if. Here's what I'm not gonna let y'all do. Here's what I'm not gonna let y'all do.
Tell us what you're not gonna let us do.
This young lady, as y'all testimony said, she knew what she was gonna say when she got up there. This wasn't an unscripted, off the cuff moment.
Correct.
She knew what she was going to say.
She
elected not to include that in what she submitted to the school, which had to get approval before you went up there.
Right.
So, Phil, you're telling me that you think that is okay to be fraudulent and disingenuous.
Well, again, what about my example? If she put in there, if let's say she got up and without having it been approved, she said, "God bless America, God bless this school." What?
But you would put that in. But Phil, when you put again, you're talking about an off the cuff comment. She knew what she was going to say.
That could have been part of her speech, but she didn't submit it. And what we're all saying, at least what I'm saying, is the reason they cut her off wasn't because it was off script. It was because they didn't like what she was saying.
So,
exactly.
Let me ask you this. So part of what she was talking about was humanity. And the fact that here we have freedom of speech. And there in other places they don't. That's what she started with. Don't shake your head. I understand because Karen actually stopped her from talking. And we're actually talking.
No, I'm not talking about just this. Kids don't have freedom of speech in general.
Can I finish?
I'm just saying you're wrong.
Let me finish being
She's right.
wrong. So let me finish being wrong, okay? And then why don't you come at me? What I'm talking about is her actual speech. So maybe we should go back to it. Because here's the other question. Why do we assume every time we're talking about things people don't want us to talk about, it should be considered political? Because some things are about humanitarians. Some things are about our freedoms. And it shouldn't be political, like the entire thing. But go and see when they cut her off. Roll your eyes. It's okay. I tell my son, go ahead and roll it. It's not hurting me. What I like.
Go ahead and roll your eyes. It's not hurting her.
That's what Kevin's doing. Listen to what she said, and then let us ask the question. Right? Was it really political? And was it enough for what the lady did and stopped it? And did it pierce her heart because she didn't want to see it? And that's what gave her that bold move to go do that? And did it not pierce the person next to him, which is why they didn't move? Ask a couple different questions, because apparently the rules don't matter because you're okay with the rule of dance because it's like throwing a broken window earlier and it's not a huge crime. But it just depends on how people
interpret. I didn't say that. Yeah, I never said that. I just said the two things.
Yeah, and some things we consider political and they're not. They're really not.
Can I, Alanda's on point exactly. I agree with you completely. This should not be considered a political speech. To me, a political speech is you're favoring one of the major parties over the other, or what she said.
I think it was a political speech, but I think
it was about humanity. It was about humanity.
She called out ICE. Now look, I get. This is what I'm saying. Y'all have a political. This is coming from a political point of view that you have, whether you want to call it humanitarian or whatever. It's political, right? She specifically called out ICE in that speech. You know that is a hot button. That is a hot button issue and topic. Y'all don't have a problem with it, and this is the reason. This is the problem that I have. Y'all don't have a problem with it because you like what the young lady said. And the issue that I'm making is if this young lady had got up there and said something different that you didn't agree with, you wouldn't have had a problem with them grabbing the mic. You wouldn't be making the same argument. And this is why I'm saying that the rules matter, because the rules don't just apply when somebody gets up and says something that you like and that you agree with and that you want to cheer. It needs to apply also, if you believe that if a kid wanted to get up and say, I don't believe in all this woke DEI stuff and it's destroying our country and blah, 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 and didn't submit those comments, y'all ain't going to sit here and tell me that this would not be a different conversation if that had happened.
It would be the exact same conversation. From my angle, it would be the exact same conversation.
Yeah, but
it
you
don't
wouldn't be
make a
taking your
difference.
position.
It
You
don't
wouldn't be
make a
taking
difference.
position.
If she would have got up and said she was pro-ICE, in my opinion, she should be allowed, or whoever the valedictorian should be allowed to give their opinion. All I care about is it's consistent across whoever's saying whatever. But going back to what I asked Phil, I didn't ask you whether you agreed with Kevin on that issue. What I asked you was, did you believe that Kevin's example made sense? Kevin was comparing walking up and hitting somebody.
He couldn't win his first question, so now he wants to go back.
I would agree.
I'm asking Phil. Let me get it out. My question
for
for Phil is this: Phil, do you agree with Kevin in his example, in which he said that walking up and hitting somebody is the same as giving a speech?
No, I don't agree with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now we can continue.
So I will say this. I just went back and listened to her speech. And I'm going to stand firmly by what I just said, because the only thing she did say that made you just a little bit uncomfortable was when she said, and those families are being torn apart by things like ICE. She did say that part. Everything else talked about the freedom to speak. And that's when the lady stood up. So to be clear, ICE can be considered, I guess, political to you, I guess, at this point. But it was that word is the only thing that we could have said was actually political, because what she talked about was freedom to speech, and she was using her voice for that. So I say, look, go back and look. I stand firmly on mine. And next time, don't say you have to abide by the rules and decide there's levels to abiding by. Either you have rules, because if they're not going to stop you from dancing, don't have it a rule. Because then people go and break the next rule. So either have the rules or not, but still respect people. And the lady didn't have to come at her that hard.
You know, my son just graduated about 2 weeks ago, and I'm proud, summa cum laude from Elon University. If he's still here in the house, if he's still here, can we bring him? I don't know if he is. Can we bring him in and ask his opinion on this as a recent graduate?
Sure.
Why not?
Absolutely.
All right.
Let me ask this question too, since you brought it up. You said that the young lady didn't have to be disrespected like that. So where does disrespect begin? So am I disrespecting the process and the ceremony by not following the rules laid out, by doing something that I'm not asked to do? So if I'm the first one who initiates disrespect, should I not expect that disrespect is coming back at me?
So which one do you want? Do you want to act like she's a child, which you wanted to amend?
Wait, no. You can no.
She spoke up
made it very clear.
People getting killed in Gaza and people being
Nathan made it clear just a few minutes ago. She was not a child.
I understand, but I'm saying what you talked about. I'm just saying how you like flip flop based on situation. But hold on, you get ready to say something.
Hi, how's it going?
All right. Sit down here.
We got to play the video for him.
I think he has to hear the video first.
All right, well, he said he's heard about it, but go ahead and play it quick. You mind?
Hold on, let me see if I can. Let me grab it real quick.
Let me introduce this young man. This is Henry Heimlich. Now, I know what you're going to say. He's good looking. He's intelligent. No, but he's not adopted. This is my son. Okay.
Oh, he was certainly adopted.
And he just graduated.
Call him Maury Povich.
Summa cum laude from
DNA diagnostics. Right. Let's make sure.
Go ahead, play the clip.
Okay.
All right, here's the clip. Henry, check this out. I'm gonna restart it, refresh it real quick, so it might take a second.
Voice to stay silent and we're not given a voice to stay silent and
This 17-year-old teenager from Clayton, North Carolina says her welcome speech to graduates was cut off by a school administrator after she made these remarks.
I have one last thing to say. Every single person here has a voice, and we are privileged to have the freedom to use it when so many people around the world are struggling and they're suffering to be heard. Whether it's the millions suffering in Palestine, Sudan, Congo, Afghanistan, and so many other countries around the world, these are the families being torn apart by ICE. These are not distant issues. They are happening right now as I speak.
She came up to me and she's like, if you don't stop speaking right now, you're not graduating.
That's what Leen Hijaz says the administrator said to her in this moment when she cut off Hijaz's speech. And because of those remarks, unlike the rest of her fellow graduates who picked up their diplomas after the ceremony, Hijaz says she was told,
"You're getting your diploma withheld."
A Johnston County Public Schools spokesperson tells CNN that Hijaz was, quote, awarded her diploma and that her speech was cut off because, quote, school administrators intervened in order to maintain the integrity and focus of the program in real time. This action was not about limiting a student's voice, but about ensuring that a school-sponsored event remained consistent with its intended purpose. JCPS respects students' rights to express their views and encourages thoughtful dialogue in appropriate settings. The district also said the content of graduation speeches is approved by staff ahead of the event. Hijaz says she did not submit her unscripted remarks for approval and that she received her diploma 4 days after graduation. Hijaz says her family and friends have supported her throughout because
my sole purpose of saying everything was to advocate for people.
Sorry,
Right, Nathan, pose the question to him. Nathan, pose the question.
Okay, so the question is, did the school do the right thing in cutting her off?
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, look, she's the valedictorian. Is that it? I mean, she has the right to say what she wants to say, and I think if it was about a different subject, she would not have been cut off like that. But
and they didn't even call it political.
Kevin. Can you tell Kevin that? Because Kevin is he's stumping for the school administration. Thank you, Henry. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I just
let me ask you this question, Henry. Let me ask you a question. Did you do a speech at your graduation?
No, I'm not that smart.
Okay. All right. Well, at your school, do they have rules and policies and things that they have for people who give speeches?
I honestly wouldn't know.
Okay.
I'd imagine.
But if they did, would that matter?
I think it would, but I think on that list would be things like profanity and, language that's appropriate for the audience. But I think, when a cause is important, it's a matter of free speach.
Okay. All right.
I'm liking Henry better than Phil.
I do. Congratulations to you graduate.
I moved to replace Henry with
Kevin.
That wasn't the point of bringing him on. It wasn't to audition him for a role.
Kevin, I do have to go back really quick. Not only that lady threatened her. The first thing she did was say, "You're not going to graduate," right? So, and if you look at the response of the school, they didn't say she broke rules. They didn't even call it political. They said they felt like it could make the situation unruly and that the administration decided to intervene. So Karen, I'm going back to my original stuff. When people sit around thinking they have the authority to stop and do anything to you, we give them credibility and we call it political. It's not. We're allowed to fight for what we want. And honestly, when people sit around and come up with all of these things to say this is why, we actually make people think that they're not supposed to fight for humanity. But so I say, make sure you go back. And the other thing, that lady had no right, nor did she probably even have the authority to say you're not going to graduate. It just goes back to people thinking they have rights that they shouldn't act like they have.
Tony writes, Henry's coming for your job, Phil. No, I agree with you, Landis. 100% I do. I'm not threatening that baby. That's a 17-year-old future leader. When you're dealing with young people that you train to be critical thinkers, that you're gonna have to deal with that. They're gonna turn that superpower on you. You're gonna have to deal with it. If you raising young people to be strong, intelligent, to, like I said, to be a critical thinker, to challenge authority, they're gonna challenge your authority. That's a part of the process. It's a part of the process. And I wish that we had more administrators, and I get it from the administrators. Let me be sympathetic to them. This story is coming from North Carolina, and I don't know the political makeup of their state legislature. But let's say they got a state legislature that's on the opposite side of what this young lady said. I get it. Because as we already know, look at Ohio and other states where Republicans run things. They'll snatch your funding in a second. So I get it from the administration. They're worried about funding. They're worried about losing jobs, administrators, people that work in the school. That's a real thing. I get it. But when we see leaders like this, because you got a lot of weak adults, let's be here, honestly. You got a lot of weak, mealy mouth, yellow belly, cowardice adults out here. And so when you see somebody young that's willing to challenge the system and stand up, even deal with the consequences, those kind of people should be applauded, man, and lifted up. We need more of those kind of people because we got a whole lot of cowards. We don't have enough people that's willing to stand up and fight.
Do y'all remember last season on this show when we talked about an incident in a school where a kid brought a sign to the school? I think it was in favor of ICE, and he was assaulted or pushed or did something. And we had this whole conversation around freedom of speech in school and should kids be allowed to bring signs and things of that nature. And I think that we were pretty much broadly in agreement that the school said the right thing about kids not being allowed to bring posters and signs and things like that into the school, and that their speech, while you have free speech, speech is limited in terms of settings that you're in. Or it's not that it's limited, but if you choose to use it, there are consequences that come along with it. This is no different. We like to talk about freedom of speech, and yes, we have it, but we don't have freedom of speech without consequences. You can say whatever you want to your boss on your job, but you go in there and say the wrong thing in a meeting, you might not have your job the next day. You have freedom of speech, but there's certain things that you can't say in a work environment. That would be creating a hostile work environment. That would be sexually harassing. So yes, this notion of freedom of speech,
but she didn't say anything like that though.
No, Nathan. I'm trying to give you broad parameters about this notion of where y'all are just like, well, she should be able to use freedom of speech at this graduation because she said the right thing. My point is that when you are in a school event, you are under the rules of that school, just like you in terms of speech, just like you would be in a workplace or any place else. There's decorum, there are expectations, and there are consequences if you go outside of that, right? So nobody is saying that what the young lady said was wrong. I'm not saying that I disagree with her. I started out by saying two things can be true. The young lady can be a leader, and she can be, all of the things that y'all said, and the school can be totally justified in what they did. And I think that that's what applies in this case.
Vernon writes, Scott Pelley just found out that earlier in the week. Of course, he's talking about, the longtime 60 Minutes host, not on the topic list, but I'm wondering if it's something that came across your screen. It looks like 60 Minutes as we've known it, people of our age, mine is Damon, I grew up watching 60 Minutes with my grandparents. That's how I got into it. They sit there and watch it, then have conversations, sometimes arguments about it. And it looks like now, because of the new ownership, which is more, Trump right friendly, looks like CNN is losing its teeth. Scott Pelley, long time, looks like he's a credible newsman, got into it with the leadership at CNN, and this is where it is right now. Any quick thoughts on 60 Minutes and what's happening with the media? I'll say it again, Trump is winning this. Trump runs this country, period. Him and his buddies run it. They own the media, TikTok, CBS, CNN, you name it. You can even extend that into social media in terms of how some of these people are acting right now. So that's your Facebook, that's your YouTube. People used to say that the media was liberal. I always knew it never was, but I don't think anybody can argue that nowadays. What do you think about what's happening? Just as a little sidebar. If you don't have an opinion, I totally get it.
Just to clarify, what happened in terms of the legalities of all this is CBS was, I forget what it was, owned by some other company, and basically there was a competition between, I think, Paramount and Netflix or something, and Paramount, which is, I believe, owned by the Ellison family, which is a big Trump supporters. Okay, basically they had to get for this merger for Paramount to take over CBS, they had to get approval from one of his lackeys, okay, FCC or something, okay, and that's why they settled that phony suit for $16 million, where that case would have been tossed out of court in 1 hour, okay, but they settled that. They paid him off. It was just a bribe, okay, and that is why the and that's therefore Trump allowed the merger to occur or the acquisition to occur, and now CBS is owned by David Ellison. And David Ellison has made it clear he got rid of he replaced the news director with this woman, Barry Weiss, who's kind of either pro-Trumper or certainly leaning in that direction. And she in turn went and emasculated 60 Minutes. Now, the next thing is CNN, I don't think has changed their reporting, but now there's an issue about whether, I forget, that whatever company that owns HBO and CNN are trying to merge with the Ellisons. The Ellisons are asking permission for that, and they're going to get it. And once that happens, then, as you guys mentioned, they're all owned basically by somebody who is obligated to Donald Trump. I'll guarantee you, when that happens, Bill Maher will probably be off. John Oliver will be off. CNN will lose probably all the people like Caitlin Collins and all the rest of them who have been willing to, in my view, speak truth about what's going on in this country. So that's what we have to look forward to.
And can I issue a quick apology to Caitlin Collins? Because when she first got this job years ago, from my little vantage point here in Cincinnati, I remember telling people, and maybe I've said on the show, that I didn't really think highly about the job she was doing. I want to take that back. She's one of the few people that's asking tough questions, standing her ground as a journalist.
And being insulted by Trump, by the way.
And being insulted on a regular basis by Trump. She still's coming back. I got a lot of respect for the job that I've seen her do. So, and you're right. She probably is going to have her wings clipped. And this is what people, decided that they wanted. This is the reality that they wanted. So you can make an argument that if, let's say, Harris was in office, that she would not have approved this merger for whatever reasons. I don't think that any one person or any one family should own that much of American media.
I don't think Harris would have even interfered in it. I think it would have been handled on a much more objective basis, like it always was. The FCC was never a politicized organization. True. But True. Trump pushes every button he can. So he puts this hack named Brendan, what's his name?
Brendan Carr.
Brendan Carr in there, who starts threatening late night hosts like Jimmy Kimmel. That's what got Colbert, by the way, tossed. That's why he's not on the air anymore, because he made jokes about Donald Trump, and they axed him. And as far as Trump nobody else has done what Trump has done. Nobody has pushed buttons like that. If you don't mind my adding something, I apologize for talking so much, that he just named as the head of all our intelligence agencies a guy named Bill Pulte, who has less experience with intelligence than any of us do. He's never had any role in it, but he was the guy at HUD who basically went into the files and pulled out the mortgage records of Letitia James, Comey, and the others. All he was a partisan attack dog. That's it. Now, he is now the acting director of national intelligence. Now, understand something. He's acting director, and when and if he's ever up for confirmation, I don't think he's going to be confirmed, but he can stay in there for over 200 days. And we are less than 200 days, I believe, from the next election. And my prediction is he's going to come up with some BS thing about China or somebody's interfering in our elections, and therefore we have to do this. We got to put the military here. We got to seize ballots or something like that. Maybe that's a little off the kind of extreme, but that's exactly what I think he put him in there for.
No, it is. I have this question. Does anyone go buy stock when Trump says something about
smart
stock?
people do?
Yes.
Trump does.
So,
Trump did.
I will tell you, I don't listen to him, but I Google every day. Has Trump said anything about stock, and which one? And and if he does, and if you're not going to capitalize, at least get something out of this, because right now what's happening is that our freedom which is being tested, it is, you would think a man would walk in their freedom with pride and boldness and be happy. But sometimes what happens, and it just happens sometimes, that people get so caught up in fear that they don't know how to fight for liberty and justice. And it is an everyday fight for us. And if we're not doing it and teaching our kids to fight for it, we're all doomed. And that isn't even a color thing. That is a have and have not thing. So I would say, even if you have $5, when he says something, go buy it, because he's saying it 24 to 48 hours before something hit. And if you go to every stop, it has quadrupled in cases, triple, more than tripled most times.
Could you imagine if this happened during Biden, where he would come out? Could you imagine Biden coming out, pumping a stock, and then 2 days later signing a deal with the government for that? People would have went crazy. I mean, it's just amazing how Trump is able to get away with all these things that are so obviously corrupt. You know
why, Nathan? You know why he's able to do it? And it goes back. It goes back to the initial point that you wanted to say about 60 Minutes and the impact that it has. Whenever I talk about journalism, I always go back to a quote by Thomas Jefferson, who talked about, if I were to have newspapers without government or government without newspapers, I wouldn't for a minute hesitate to have newspapers, right? Because he understood the importance of a free, accurate, and functioning news media to hold powerful people in account in helping us maintain our liberty and democracy. And he understood that once that's gone, or once that's compromised, then it becomes much easier for the people in power to do everything else that they've done. And Donald Trump's assault on media from day one has been consistent to try to erode American people's trust. And look, don't get it twisted. Trust in the media had been eroding, over the 3 decades. It's not a new phenomenon. But Trump took it to another level of where he has basically dismantled the institution. Conservatives don't trust it. Liberals don't think that it's asking enough questions. And he's infiltrated enough of his buddies in key corporate places to consume and buy news organizations. And I can talk about how hedge fund managers and billionaires have been decimating, newsrooms across this country pretty much ever since I've been in the industry. So this is a phenomenon that's been going on for a long, long time. And we are at a difficult point in our country now where people don't know who to trust for information. There's so much information out there that people are just generally overwhelmed. So they just kind of throw their hands up because they don't know where to go or who to believe. And Donald Trump has fomented this. And all the situation with 60 Minutes does is further erode the public trust, because when you have somebody like Scott Pelley coming out and saying, hey, corporate interests are putting their thumb on the scale and they're trying to make us insert falsities and inaccurate information in there, people are just like, I'm done with it. Like, I don't even know who to trust. And so, what I've said is that what the American public has to do is avoid the temptation to withdraw from your mainstream media sources. Because once that's gone, you are in a whole other level world of trouble. And here's why I say this, is that we think like, oh, you've got all of this social media space out here and all these podcasts and all of that. You think if Donald Trump or whatever politician can't put his mind to dismantle 60 Minutes or whatever, or sue them into oblivion to get them to back off, you think they can't shut down a podcaster or somebody else who ain't working with nearly that kind of resources, who don't have attorneys to represent them? Look at what he did to Don Lemon. I mean, we ain't talked about that in a while, but Don Lemon is probably about as big a name as you can get in the podcast space They got this brother looking at federal charges. So don't give me that, oh, we've got this broad, robust internet podcast, ecosystem out here that's going to save us. It is not. And so I think we have to resist the temptation to withdraw, but more or less support those organizations and put pressure on the corporations, the people at the top, to do the right thing. Whenever there has been revolutionary changes in media, it's been because the public has put pressure on them to be better and be different. So withdrawal is not the answer. The answer is digging in more and holding the people at the corporate levels more into account for the quality and level of journalism that they're doing. People should
Guys,
just.
Damn, you said fake news.
Let me say something. I got to jump off, but I just want to mention it. I think we probably know this, but CBS News actually has an incredible history in terms of their reporting. That goes back to in World War II. It was Edward R. Murrow, who was just incredible broadcaster. And then you might know he had that show. I think it called See It Now. I think there's a movie about it, and he's the guy that really came out hard against McCarthy, who was very powerful at that time, and led to McCarthy ultimately getting tossed out of office and everything. And CBS has had great reports. They had a show back when I was growing up called CBS Reports, where it was like a documentary thing. And I remember one they did it was called a very famous one called Silent Spring, which was about Rachel Carson and all the pesticides. And anyway, so I just think it's important to recognize that it's so sad to me that a network that has such a great history like that is basically being now taken over by a bunch of people who are just trying to please the president.
In my Killmonger voice, all that democracy stuff is over with. Oh, that's over with. You're in a whole new reality, and you just gonna have to accept where you are. It is what it is. The Republican Party has been successful. Their 50-year plan has come to where we are now. And people trying to push back, and you should, and all this kind of stuff, but they way out ahead of the other side. They way out ahead of anybody in any kind of opposition. And it is what it is. So deal with it. It's just what it is. Yeah, you lost 60 Minutes. Yeah, Sesame Street's been cut back. Reading Rainbow's been cut back. And people who are favorable to Trump have now bought media entities that they got so much money. Ellison got so much money, it don't even really matter what happens with CNN. It matters not. It don't matter to him. He's got so much money that he can run CNN at a deficit, and it won't change his lifestyle not one iota. I'll say this again. That is dangerous. It is dangerous when you got human beings who have so much money that they can buy powerful media institutions, and it don't even matter if they make money. That's dangerous.
But that's kind of always
laws to prevent that. Sometimes you have to protect yourself from yourself. And sometimes you have to protect ourselves.
If they're Democrats, you don't really care.
Let me finish it first. I'm almost going to land. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves from the nature of being a human being, and that's greed and power. We got to protect ourselves from ourselves. There should be no millionaires. You make $1 million, every dollar after that is 99% taxed. You're going to live the best life you can ever imagine. Your lifestyle's not going to change, but you're never going to get the power to hurt everybody else. And that's what it's all about.
Did you mean
you
billion?
should not have enough money where you can buy HBO and buy CBS, and it don't even matter if you run ads. They can fold up tomorrow. Larry Ellison, it makes no difference. He'll still be laying in his private resort, doing whatever he does. It'll have no impact on his lifestyle whatsoever, but it'll have an impact on the other millions of Americans that watch that television platform. I'm telling you, we have created something very dangerous, and I don't think that we can get out ahead of it at this point. I think it's too far out ahead of us, way too out ahead of us. You got some. We're talking about Elon Musk is about to be a trillionaire. That makes sense. And you got people living in the streets. What is wrong with us? What is wrong with us? How is this a good thing? And you got people that can't even afford to buy vegetables. but I'm supposed to think this is some kind of a success story. Where's the success?
Hey, I don't know about you, but I take that trillion. I mean, here, hey, look, everybody against $1 trillion till they got it. We've had this conversation.
I would be against $1 trillion if I could make
many times about money and the capacity for people to make money and how we tax people. That's a different conversation that I definitely think is certainly one worthy of having. But one thing I do want you to recognize when it comes to media, though. Media has always been controlled by rich people, by powerful people. I mean, if you go back and you look at the history of almost every newspaper or news organization that's been run, they've always been run by millionaires and billionaires and people who have had money. Governors have owned newspapers and over the course of history. And so you've always had the rich and well-to-do who have had a hand in media. I think what you see that is a little bit different these days is there's more overt thumb on the scale in the way that newsrooms operate and the way that they go about putting together news reports and facts. Like there's always,
That's the major point. Yeah, we already know there's already been rich people have always controlled everything. We got that, but it's how you control it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like there have always been pressures, whether it's from advertisers or people with money, have always tried to lean on newsrooms to get them to modify coverage that they don't like. It's nothing new. You write a story about your biggest advertiser, they don't like it, they're going to pull advertising for a couple of months to send a newspaper to try to send the message, hey, we don't like what you just reported. But one of the things that has always been consistent was newspapers never used to buckle to that, and the people in charge never used to buckle to that. Now what you see is the people who are running these organizations, they're putting their thumb on the scale and saying cover news this way, and that never used to be the case. Even if editorially on their editorial pages and the opinions that they put are generally conservative, as you said, Nathan, that's true. The history of news media is mostly conservative in this country. Certainly is true in radio, that is mostly, news by and large, even though that's not the line that you get fed today about what the media is, that is liberal. And people say that because you probably have more people who identify as liberal who work in newsrooms. That's probably true. That more people who identify as liberal probably do that. But I think that's probably more a product of how maybe liberal people, the types of jobs liberal people generally tend to be attracted to versus the types of jobs that conservative people generally tend to be attracted to. There might be some element to that. But yeah, man, you're right. It's how the people who have the money are controlling it or putting their thumb on the scale. And what we're seeing now, I think, is something that we have not seen before in this
absolutely.
country.
So, there ain't no coming back from it.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying, Nate, because I'm okay with making $1 million, and $1 million isn't even that. I think it's okay to make money. However,
I think he meant billion.
I do think this, though. When you look at even the fact that if you make over $184,000 in a year, you don't have to pay in the Social Security. If you flip that, we will be able to take care of everyone. We will be able to take care of everyone through insurance and health insurance, because it's called the wealthy actually paying into things. We don't. It's flip-flop. Does that make sense? So if you make $184,000 a year and you pay into Social Security. As soon as you make $184,000, you stop paying into Social Security. Is that making sense? That's how things are set up.
It's backwards.
That's the problem. They eat off of us, and we eat off of each other.
Yeah. Well, the tax code doesn't help us either. I mean, like, Greg Landsman wrote our initiation name to be on Hot Mic, Greg Landsman. Greg Landsman wrote an interesting piece in the Inquirer, I think just today, where he talked about, you know, how the tax code is situated and how when you've got a lot of money and you can afford to hire high-priced accountants and tax people, that there's a lot of ways you can dodge paying taxes. And that's why I'm saying, like, I am not necessarily for putting a cap on what somebody can make, but I'm saying the way that people are taxed and how much that they're taxed when you have so much has to be a part of that formula, you know, because there's no way that somebody like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk should be paying less taxes than you or I every year. And you know, that's what you got to fix. If you get the tax code and the tax system right, you can probably deal with that. But
has Greg Landsman signed on to Bernie Sanders' 5% tax for the billionaires? Let's look that up. Because why is Greg Landsman writing op-eds instead of writing bills to actually get the things done? But vote for Greg. And then also with the fake news. So fake news. And then brother Kevin, we understand where your check come from. So you're like, no, don't abandon CBS, ABC.
That has nothing to do with me and where my check is coming from. This is specifically about the importance to the democracy.
No. What do they say for the police? They say it's what kind of bias is it? You don't even know the bias is there. It's just on you. You just straight jumped into defending WCPO, who we just saw attack our dear sister Iris.
I don't think I did that.
Probably talked about this, right? But so we're not supposed to abandon them when there are options. Hot mic is an option. Tucker Carlson is an option. Breaking points, there are options. There are independent news sources. Now, these independent news sources are on Facebook, which we don't have control of, or are on YouTube, which we don't have control of. But when those squeeze down, the options will go deeper. And these sources aren't even new. Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, these guys have been doing this independent news thing for a long time. And now it's catching up. So we can't listen to 60 Minutes anymore. As much as they don't want to be biased, those journalists who aren't biased will just take their independent news and take it to a YouTube so that we can go watch it independently.
Damon, let me ask you a question. Would you go to a doctor that had no credentials on their wall, did not attend any kind of school or get any kind of knowledge on how to be a doctor, but watched a lot of episodes of Grey's Anatomy and wanted to do surgery on you? Would you go to that doctor for life-saving surgery?
I'm gonna answer it like this: the doctors in Cuba, they say, are the best, but if they come here, they won't let them practice, right?
No.
There are doctors out there. Wait. There are doctors out there
that I use, Damon. You check. We ain't
talking about. There are doctors out there who don't have the credentials.
So you're going to go to a Grey's Anatomy doctor. You're going to go to a Grey's Anatomy doctor over somebody who has been trained to perform surgery. No, you wouldn't, Damon. Don't
doctors on Grey's Anatomy.
Your own intelligence.
You're comparing journalism to heart surgery.
Intelligence of the
you are
people
comparing journalism to heart surgery. And I just answered, there are doctors in Cuba that they won't let practice here. But they are the coldest and they do the best things. You're comparing journalism to heart surgery.
No, I'm not. I'm comparing expertise to expertise. No, and what I'm saying is everybody who got a podcast is not a journalist. Everybody who's on TV is not a journalist. Journalism, see, this is the thing that you talk about my bias or that gets under my skin. It's like people think because they go out and can ask a couple of questions that makes them qualified to be a journalist. It does not. People who are journalists have gone to school, they've practiced, they've spent years. If I asked you what the journalistic method was, you could not tell me what it was. How many of these cats who got a podcast even think about a journalistic method or ethics or anything like that?
The problem with
A lot
is
of
if
them
you
don't.
ask me that question in 2020, I can Google it very fast. Now, back in 1970, if I had to go find the book and read it and whatnot, and I may not have the book, the problem in 2026, the journalistic method isn't hard to figure out. Now, heart surgery, no, I can't follow a recipe and do heart surgery. But I can do the who, what, where, when, and why of the journalistic method.
The fact that you say that and a lot of
please
people
don't tell me that's
that
what it is.
opinion tells me why we in trouble.
Kevin, I will say this. The media is under attack. Journalism is to be respected. But a lie is a lie and the truth is the truth. And some journalists come up as liars, and some come up as fudging the truth, and some come up as straight facts. We, as long as we can read, understand, interpret, investigate, really look into things, that's on us to go do.
Yeah, but people ain't doing that, Landis.
I understand, but what I'm saying is I do respect journalism, but journalism is made up of liars too. So
look, every profession is made up of liars. We got a liar at the top of the country.
I know. So what we're down.
We don't throw out. We don't throw out.
Why?
Let me finish. So what we're going through right now is the lack of integrity in some journalism, the lack of integrity when we look at some of these news stations that are actually operating in a spirit of fear, as opposed to supporting what they were supposed to uphold, what they learned. We are all going through that. So at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to research and understand what's going on and to actually act accordingly, because nothing is better than we have doctors that have refused to help pregnant women because of fear. So we can't even hold them above anything. We are all being tested and we're flunking. And journalism is included.
For you and all your degrees to say like, oh, that these people on Instagram who are breaking news as it happens aren't journalists or aren't doing a good job or aren't doing these things.
I didn't say that. None of that I said.
No, you're trying to discredit. You said, would I go? Yes, I will go get my information.
Now, that's what you heard.
I don't see your degrees on the wall.
I can't help that, but that's not what I said.
You said accreditations and degrees. I don't see your degrees. I just trust you. I'm not looking for somebody's degrees if I'm looking for information.
You should. David, that's the problem. That's the problem with what we have.
It means that it's owned by Larry Ellison. I'm saying go to the independent sources. And then I said,
no, David, what you just said is a problem. What you just said is a problem. You should check my credentials. You shouldn't just trust me, right? And this is the problem that I have with how we take information. We will take information from anybody. We don't know what their credentials are. We don't know what their training is. A lot of times we don't even know where their sources are coming from. We don't know what agenda they have, but we take hook, line, and sinker what they say. I'm not disagreeing with you in terms of, yeah, there's some people out here who are doing some great work. But because I show up at the scene and record something and ask a couple of questions, that's not the same thing as doing journalism. The reason why is because when you talk about in-depth investigative journalism, pouring through records, understanding how to analyze and do all of that, the reason we have journalists and newspapers is most people are too busy to do all of that stuff on their own. They count on their media sources to do that job for them. They don't have time to go down to City Hall and not only request 1,000 pages worth of documents, they ain't got time to read it, right? That is the job of the journalism. And I see a lot of people out here who are doing interesting things, some good things, but I wouldn't call it journalism. I wouldn't.
Right. Yeah, you know what? That journalism tag, man, like, you know, I never looked at people called me a journalist. I never looked at myself as a journalist unless I was in a situation where calling myself that benefited me, like I was at a conference.
Hilarious Scales is a journalist, Darren. My bad.
So what now?
Talking to the chat.
Oh, who said what now?
Hilarious Scales is a journalist, or he's a
Hilarious Scales.
I don't know if he's not an investigative journalist. He's an on the scene journalist. Is that what? So he's a newsman. Is there a difference between a newsman and a journalist?
I think there's a difference between a newsman
Hilarious
and a
Scales
journalist.
is exactly what how does Hilarious Scales describe himself? Instead of us putting a label on Hilarious Scales, why don't you ask Hilarious Scales what he considers himself to be? See, that's the problem. We want to start putting labels on people that we don't even know what they mean a lot of times. That brother, for all I know, that brother might not even consider himself a journalist. Yet that's the label you want to put on him.
I love it when Kevin says, see, that's the problem.
I mean, I'm just saying this is what, dude, I pay attention. I'm just saying this is what we do, and this is what's dangerous. This is the point that I'm trying to get across. I'm not trying to be an a-hole. I'm just trying to get people to think differently. We are in a challenging landscape where there's so much stuff out here, so many people doing so many different things. Labels matter, because when you start calling people journalists who are not journalists, you're giving them a letter, an air of credibility that they don't deserve and haven't earned.
So the only people who are journalists, have what, a master's?
I think I argue a pretty daggone good case, but you know what? I can't go down to the Hamilton County Courthouse and stand before a judge and argue a case. They would tell me to get the hell out of there.
No, but you're trying to compare journalism to heart surgery, journalism to the Supreme Court. Journalism is a more vast. Anybody can be a journalist at any time.
That's the problem. That right there, what Damon said is the problem. You would never say anybody can be a doctor. Anybody can be a lawyer.
No, you can't be a doctor. You have to pass the bar.
Anybody can be a journalist. Get out of here with that, man.
They can. Anybody can open a Substack and become a journalist.
I understand what Damon is saying. I understand what both of you are saying.
Right now, we're TV stars. Anybody can open up a podcast and I'm a star. I don't know if you see the chat. It's star quality. Right now, we're TV stars. Anybody can be, but now you can't be a doctor and you can't be a lawyer. But that's about it. Anybody.
Okay, I want everyone to go apply to get Kevin's job, and let's see which one they pick.
Thank you.
That's a journalist. Let's
thank you, Alandis.
That's our theory, because normally,
people act like what Kevin does. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it is a difference. I do see. I think I understand what you're saying, which is part of freedom of speech. It's not like you have to speak right. It's not like you have to be articulate. Freedom of speech, saying what you think, being on a podcast, writing a book, writing an article. It doesn't make you a journalist. And I think he's saying there's levels to what we're talking about. And I respect what's going on even on this podcast, but I'm not a journalist. I've written an op-ed. I did pretty good, didn't I, Kevin?
You did an excellent job.
I'm not a journalist.
Right.
I shared my thoughts. It is different. And so I just want to say that is just the respect mode.
How did we get here? Because
whoever
was the journalist.
You let us down.
So Damon.
Fake news is how we got here.
Yeah,
Fake news is how we got here. I didn't get to talk until like 15 minutes in. Fake news is how we got here. So now I remember because Kevin's job is up for grabs, and it's not because we can get it. It's because Donald Trump is erasing it. That's how we got here. Because Donald Trump's erasing all these journalism jobs.
Let me diffuse you of something here, brother. Just today, see, I'm not one of them brothers that just sit back and like, oh, if I lose my job tomorrow, I'm gonna be out. No, brother, I don't operate like that. The Inquirer right now for me is a nice opportunity. It's good. It works for me, but trust me, brother, I'm gonna be all right if I'm out of a job tomorrow. Okay, I don't live my life that way. Don't get it twisted. I don't want you or anybody listening to this to get it twisted that anything that I have to say is connected with my fear of a paycheck. Let's just get that straight right now.
Kevin. Tell me.
No, it's not. You don't know it's the bias. It was the implicit bias. That's the word I was looking for. It's the implicit bias that has you on this side of it. Because I would imagine that per what you just said, you could have been like, yeah, I can go start my own journalism thing. I don't even want to be a part of this system that we know is corrupt. Like, why would a journalist even want to be a part of a corrupt system that's owned by the Ellisons or whoever? I can't even think of it fast enough to know who owns the Inquirer. But so all of those things. So it's not that people even want Kevin's job. You don't have to have his job to put opinions out. You don't have to have his job to do research and then to put out your research. So, Kevin, okay. It used to be only the Inquirer was down at the city hall getting all the information. Now Stefan down there with his camera like this. Stefan is a whole
Stefan's. It may not have been Stefan, but there. See, this is because we have the internet now, and I've been around long enough to exist before we had social media and all of this stuff. There always been Stefan Priors who have been around. Going down, instead of doing his own thing on social media, they would call Lincoln or they would call these. Like, it's no different than what we see today. We just have more mediums in which people have the ability to get their name. But there always been community watchdogs and checkers on City Hall in the Black community and otherwise who go back and report to people what traditional media isn't reporting. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not trying to devalue anything anybody else is doing in the space. I even said there are a lot of people who are doing some good things, a lot of people who are doing some interesting things. But the importance of us being savvy consumers of information is knowing the difference between people whose job and profession it is to do this and people who are in their basement doing some things here and there who don't necessarily have training. Who definitely, I'll say this, you talk about being aware of bias, and this is why I talked about journalistic method, right? I used to teach this in my journalism 101 class. There's no such thing as an objective person. Nobody is objective. We're all subjective. The minute you come in contact with information, we immediately begin to formulate an opinion on it. You can't help it. It's like a knee-jerk reaction. Unless you just don't care about what you're listening to. What the journalistic method is it's an objective method that helps you check against your biases. A lot of people who are doing stuff in this space, if you're not employing the journalistic method, then everything you're putting out is biased because you're bringing forth what you want to bring forth from your perspective. And that is not journalism, brother. I don't care. It's something, but it ain't journalism.
Is what Tucker Carlson doing journalism?
No. I would say what Tucker Carlson is doing is more opinion-based stuff.
It is. So in journalism, you really do have to analyze, investigate, know that you're supposed to know it's right. It's part of. I'm not going to tell you because I'm not a journalist, so I don't want to actually be saying because I know Kevin, you know. But there's differences. So you got to think like most reporters are journalists, but journalists aren't reporters. Not all journalists are reporters because reporters actually have to make you listen. So some people are back there analyzing as a journalist and can really get to facts, but they could never convey it to where you would listen, understand, comprehend, and be influenced, right? There's a delivery. So there's different levels to everything. And I'm just respecting he's at the journalist level. I'm not one, right? And so I think what he's saying is maybe we don't all call them that. And words matter and what people go through. But not everyone on a podcast investigates, analyzes, understand even how you do it, understand the repercussions of what you do, get sued. You can't sue a podcast like you can sue a journalist. It's two different piles. So
you can, Alandis,
but it's not. They don't. Yeah, you are more apt to get sued from a journalist standpoint,
right?
Than Mr. Pryor would get sued for what he goes down and records and says, because it's different expectations. Yeah. That's all I'm saying. I gotta go, but
we all got it off.
Thank you, Alandis.
Not everyone's a politician either. You ran for office. Not everyone could do that, right? Not everyone could do it. So we all have special things that we can do, and we just respect.
No, but that's the thing, though. Everybody can run for office.
Yeah, but it's
not. There's
okay,
$85 and 50 signatures. Now,
not everyone should. How about this?
Right,
not everyone should.
Right.
And not everyone is really qualified to do it. and
But
people
we should,
do it
but we should
sometimes.
stop. We should get off the legacy media though, because we just all admitted that they're all corrupt, and they've
I-
always been corrupt. Now
Who
Kevin
admitted
might not be corrupt, but the
I didn't admit everyone
WCPOs.
was corrupt. I'm leaving this.
No, I said the legacy media is. The people aren't, right?
Oh.
You try their hardest, but we just saw WCPO and all those other things, and they're owned by all the same people. So we need to find
So
independent.
you agree with Donald Trump then? You agree with Donald Trump?
Sure, fake news. You got me. Vote for Greg.
I mean that's basically.
Sure, I don't know what that means. I agree with what I just said.
You just said
no, Donald Trump agrees with me.
Just said that you believe that all legacy media is corrupt. That's what Donald Trump believes.
I thought that's what we just said. They're all owned by the same four families.
Okay. I think the internet has made us think we're in the Matrix and we can just snap our fingers and drive an airplane or fly an airplane. We can't do it well. So some people do it, but they shouldn't. I'm going to have
everybody can do some research and investigation.
Hey, Lance, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and cut it, guys. We've been on for about 2.5 hours. Let you guys get back to your Friday. Damon, really appreciate you. Kevin, as always, bro, appreciate you. And to the audience, it's all about you. So we hope you get something out of the show. Have a great rest of your Friday and weekend. We're planning to be back on Tuesday and Friday of next week. And never know who's on the chat, never know who's on the crew. Have a great rest of your day. Take it easy, everybody.